Welcome back to CW Iowa Live, and joining us in studio, a good friend of ours, Mike Jankins here, talking about bankruptcy and things you can do to try to avoid bankruptcy. And if you are in the position where you have to file for bankruptcy, this is the guy that you want to go see. He'll be able to make it as painless as possible. But today we're talking about something you can do to help your own credit, correct?
Well, actually something you do to find out information about your credit. I don't know that it really helps or hurts your credit.
Well, I think it helps just to have information about it.
Definitely.
Okay.
So we want to talk about credit reports today. It's so people can figure out if things are being reported accurately on your credit. And if people are going to contemplate seeing me, then it's always important to know who your debts are with. So the credit reports are going to give you a real good start as to who you owe money to. Now, some people might think, well, why wouldn't you know who you owe money to? That seems to be things people should know. But unfortunately, when people get into financial struggles, they stop paying their bills for more than a long while. And then they kind of just lose track and forget about who they owe money to. Even people who have payments for things that are important, like cars or homes, they lose track of what company they actually owe the money to. When they're asked, who do you make your car payment to, it isn't uncommon when I ask that the person doesn't know who they make the car payment to, because I guess I'm old-fashioned and I like to write a check. A lot of my clients don't have a checking account, and they find it too bothersome to have one.
Really? Well, you know, that affects a lot of things when people rely. So everything is just automatic payment, sign up, and online. And I think you get a little detached from your financial situation when it's all online like that, right?
100%.
Now, since that happened, I'm glad you mentioned that, but since people have had the ability to have automatic payments and things taken care of without them having to physically write a check like you do, have you seen an increase in things of people not paying attention what their credit scores are?
Well, I wouldn't say so much credit score, but I see people, in fact, lose touch with you know, what is actually going on month to month with what they pay and who they pay, because these things get set up to just automatically happen rather than somebody actually doing something.
Yeah, it's not in some cases not a set amount, because if it varies, if your bill varies, then it'll automatically take that amount out, like some of your power bills.
That's right.
That.
It's like then you're just kind of moving numbers around versus you know, I just think there's a disconnect.
And then there's a lot of people that don't do this old-fashioned thing that in the old days people actually looked at their bank statements.
Reconcile.
And there was a thing called reconciler balance. But
yeah,
speaking of lost art.
Back in the day, how often were you sitting down with your checkbook and figuring out, you know, how much money you had at the end of the month?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel that isn't a common practice. People still do it, but I don't think it's as common as it once was. So these credit reports can be obtained from various places. The three main credit bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And there's a database that has been set up, and I'm not really sure who set it up, but it was set up so that everybody could go to it and then obtain their free credit report from each of the companies I just named once every 365 days. And so the website, if you do it on the internet, is annualcreditreport.com. There's a www in front of it. And so this is a good site. It takes you direct to the credit bureaus, so they're not trying to sign you up for stuff. They're not trying to sell you stuff where you got to cancel after 30 days and hook you in. These are absolutely free, no strings attached. Now, it's not credit scores, it's just credit reports.
And what will that tell me then?
Well, it'll give you information about the places that you've got obligations to pay. Generally, the things you're looking at are bank loans and credit cards and medical bills that might be in collections. So that's the kind of information you're going to see on your credit report, and it'll show your balances on those accounts. So when you go to the website, you enter your name, your date of birth, your social security number, and your address. And if you haven't been at the address for 2 years, you got to put the last previous address. And then once you do that, the page will come up asking you which credit reports you want, and you check all three because that's what you want.
Okay.
Then it'll take you, you click next, it'll take you one at a time to each of the 3 different bureaus. And then when you get to, let's say, Equifax, it'll ask you 4 questions generally, and it's meant to find out, make sure that you're the person that's actually trying to get these reports. So it's going to be information about you that they presumably have in their database. And sometimes the answer will just be none of the above. They'll ask somebody, which one of these mortgage payments have you had the last time you got a mortgage? Well, someone never had a mortgage, so it's none of the above. So you go through this, and if you answer the questions the way they expect, then a link will come up where you can print the report. Now, when you do this, it's a good idea to either save it to your computer once you have access or print it, because that's it. It's one look a year, so you don't want to miss out because,
right.
Oh, I took a look and now you close out the window and it's gone.
Do each of those 3 reporting bureaus vary then, or is one better than the other, or should you get one from each of the
You should get one from each. The information is mostly the same on each, but there can be minor differences. Some place might choose not to report to all 3. They may choose to only report to 1 or to 2 of them. So if you don't get all 3, there could be one that you miss out. I find that most of the information is all the same across the board, but from time to time we'll find differences.
Who do they usually report to? If it was like 1 or 2, who would they report to?
Oh, I would probably say Equifax is the main one that they would report to from my observations.
Okay.
Now, on the online versions of these reports, I find the TransUnion online version to be outstanding as far as a report, much more so than Equifax and Experian. The current versions of their online reports, to me, are chock full of empty pages of paper because they're reporting lengthy payment histories, and especially when there's student loans, they just get outrageous in the amount of pages. And they used to be so much better, but over the last several years they've changed their format. If you mail in the form, which is available on their website, and some people have to mail it in because for various reasons the information they entered in answering the questions wasn't satisfactory, or it was basically they weren't going to allow you to get it online for different reasons, and you just have to send in the form. So if you mail in, the reports you get in the mail from Equifax and Experian, they're outstanding. They're not the same format as what you get off of the internet website. Oh. And so I actually have given up printing out the reports for Equifax and Experian online. And if my clients are wanting them or needing those, I'll either fill out the form in my office or give it to them to take home and fill out. And then it takes about 2 weeks to get those reports at home.
If it's a more complete report, might as well.
It's just set up much better, much easier to read. And so you have to send ID when you fill out the form. So they want proof of your social security number. So most people will have their social security card. They can photocopy it. And then they have to have proof that the address you're asking them to mail it to is in fact your address. So the best thing to copy would be like your driver's license if it has an address.
Right.
They suggest if you don't have it on your driver's license, a utility bill like the electric company, a water bill. We found someone's pay stubs work pretty good. The first page of a tax return works pretty good. Mm-hmm. So you have to send that along with it so that they have the proper ID to make sure you are who you are. So when you get these reports, you're going to be able to find out who you owe your money to, and then at least when you call me, we can have a good conversation about why you need to file bankruptcy, how bad your debt situation is. Now, a couple other places that offer these credit reports, and they're not as good of information, but sometimes it's easier to get. And so at least to find out a little bit of information, because if it says you owe something, you owe it. So Credit Karma, they advertise
That's
quite
the one
a bit
people have heard of,
on TV, have all kinds of commercials. I don't like to rely on it. I found that all of the information I see when people print those and bring them to me don't always have as thorough of information as I see when I actually get the reports from Equifax and TransUnion. That's where Credit Karma gets their information, and so they pull it from Equifax and TransUnion and give people a shot to take a look at that.
A lot of people just rely on their credit, just keeping tabs on their credit score versus...
Right, but your score doesn't tell you anything about who you owe money to. Mm-hmm. It's just a number that people rely on to extend credit if you're looking to get a loan someplace. So who needs to get these credit reports? Well, it's a good idea for everybody, since they're free, to at least.
But just once a year.
Once a year.
Once a year, okay.
And just see what's going on. Sometimes there's inaccuracies, and there can be incorrect things in there, and some of those incorrect things can knock your credit score down a little bit. And so you can at least fix those and dispute them on your credit report,
Good.
and that can bring your score up to a higher level. That might get you a better interest rate when you're trying to get a loan. So that's a good reason. And it doesn't, since you're pulling it, I am not an expert in credit scores, but I guess they call it a soft pull, so it doesn't, again, have a negative impact on, on your credit score by pulling a credit report. Now, if you're intending to come and file bankruptcy or see me or any other bankruptcy attorney, and you don't keep your bills, like in a folder or in a box or something, and you've just kind of tossed them, sight unseen, you don't worry about them anymore, you definitely need to get credit reports, because you won't know who your bills are all with, at least accurately, and so you definitely probably are going to want to do that.
That comes in handy in case they are filing bankruptcy with you, which, by the way, and if you're to that point where you think that this might be what you need to do, this would be the guy to call, and he can walk you through all this before you come in, because you have a consultation that you offer up to people if they want to come in and talk about whether or not they want to file bankruptcy, correct?
Sure, the first visit's free. I mean, it's advertised as a free 1-hour consultation, but it's free regardless of how long it takes. If it's a half hour or if it's an hour and a half, it's still free.
But you suggest getting this before coming in?
If you don't keep your bills.
If you don't keep your bills, especially. Yeah.
We want to know what they are.
Yeah, because just stay on top of it, and in case you come into this situation, it's nice to have this. There is a solution to your situation, and you're the person that's be able to offer that solution.
I like to think so.
You like to know you have been. And you've been for how
Good
long?
information.
How long have you been doing this, Michael?
Oh, about 35 years.
Yeah, so I think you might have it down pat by now, don't you?
Know a few things.
Yeah, you know. So again, if you're in that situation, there is a way to resolve it, and this is the guy that can help you resolve it, Michelle.
Yes, thank you very much. Great information, as always.
Michael Jankins, great job as always.
Thank you.
Check your credit, folks. He just told you how to do it one more time. If you want to go online and check it for free once a year, what's the website to go to?
www.annualcreditreport.com, or you can find a link at my website at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com, and it gets you there easier.
I think that's the way to go. There it is. Jankins Law Firm. Folks, thank you so much for coming in. It is 8:50.